I know the Broncos didn't win in the fashion that we wanted them to yesterday. In fact, we took a loss. But nevertheless, the season continues. We're still in a great position to make the playoffs. And we're going to break it all down for you here on the DNVR Broncos show. In about 30 seconds, it'll be me and Dre. Got the inside scoop. It'll be good for you guys. See you in 30 seconds. Well, we lost again to the Chargers. I hate to say that. I expected the Chargers to charge at any point last game, but they held through to the end. I think it was a hard-fought game by the Broncos, but ultimately it was a tale of two halves, and the second half was not our best half. I want to welcome everybody into the DNVR Broncos show, presented by Bet365. You can download the Bet365 app and use code DNVR365. Deposit $10 and place a bet of $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. We are live from the Toyota Lounge, and there's no Zach, no Hank. They're on vacation, having a good time. But it is me and Dre.
I mean, Zach's
me and
coming
Dr.
back
Dre.
from LA, you know.
I know. I just like to give him a hard time, you know.
Henry really is on vacation, though.
No, he's big chilling. I think he's in the mountains of Montana.
Unreal.
Yeah.
He's the reason they lost.
Because he wasn't here. He's not focused.
The Broncos needed Hank.
Yeah.
Biggest game in my daughter's lifetime. And yeah, where was Hank?
Yeah.
Shame on him.
How old's your daughter?
She'll be 7 in March.
So she's never seen the Broncos
Have
win
a
anything.
winning season. She
Yeah.
thinks they're a bunch of losers.
Hopefully we can get that turned around this year. We got 2 more games left.
Come on.
Got a long week going into Cincinnati, but I think we'll need every bit of it to be prepared. The Cincinnati Bengals, not a great team, but they're a high-powered offense with a lackluster defense, so we definitely have to be prepared. But before we go too far into the future, how did you feel about this game? Being able to have a night to digest it, rewind it, watch it again. How'd you feel?
What a bummer. I mean, it stings at the levels of almost that Chiefs game. Almost. And I keep coming back to, 2 key plays, which is the fair catch interference.
Yes.
And the Marvin Mims, double move where he's wide open for a Todd. And they didn't call PI when he's coming back to get it.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 that really stick out to me in that loss.
I think those are the 2 biggest plays because at that point in the game, you talk about the Marvin Mims play, that puts us right back on putting points on the board when they've scored in back-to-back drives. Like, we need that play to happen. For me, I got to be honest, as a defender, I want the Broncos to win. I want the Broncos to do good. But as a defender, I hate feeling like we reward quarterbacks for bad throws.
I mean, I think that's a fair point.
Marvin Mims is wide open.
It's wide open. It should have been 6, period.
Yes. Put the ball on him. Let him catch it in stride. If you overthrow him just a little bit, it's better than underthrowing him. I don't think that's fair for defenders to say, I got to run with you one-on-one, cover you. I don't know where the ball is. But if your quarterback throws a bad ball, then I now have to get out the way to give you a chance to make the catch. Then I can get a PBU or then I can tackle you.
Yeah.
That's not fair in my opinion.
It's not, but it is the rules.
I didn't write the rules, but
no
they are
one wants
the rules.
to hear that today, Todd.
Yeah.
We all just wanted PI. But yeah, it should have just been 6. Marvin has a monster day if that's a long bomb.
Yeah.
Bo has a completely different game. You kind of take the momentum back with that one.
Yeah.
And even ending the half that way, they were just on such a high. And that, I mean, taking it away from a 2-possession game, I wonder how much that didn't influence Sean's decision on the first drive of the second half. They go for it on 4th and 2 to prolong the drive, but then they settled for the field goal on the very next set of downs. Would it have been different if they were up 10 at that point, Are you more aggressive? Are you more gutsy? Do you just end the game right then and there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's football, man. I think we get lost in the bigger scores, but it truly is a game of inches. It came down to a couple plays, and it's a young team, and
Very young, yep.
they'll get it back.
Hopefully. I guess we got to talk through the end of the half, like you're bringing up, that fair catch, free kick. It's something that I felt like I was talked to a lot with my special teams coordinator, but it felt like guys were like a little bit confused or didn't know exactly what was happening. And for anybody out there who's watching the game, a fair catch, free kick can basically be attempted at any time, but it's not advantageous to a team to fair go a drive just to try and kick a field goal.
Right.
And then most times you're on your own end of the field, so you're not going to kick a 80-yard field goal to try and get points. So I think it was the first time that it's happened in a game or been executed in a game to score points since like 1976.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's very rare, and we're just lucky enough for it to happen to us on Thursday Night Football.
It's insane.
And then the game points going into half. But I think that was a momentum shift. I think 10-21, like you're saying, is very different than 13-21 going into half.
100%. And then, I mean, that one drive, I guess it's the second touchdown the Chargers get in the second half. All the defensive penalties. And, I mean, the other thing is they played great on defense. Herbert was outstanding in the second half. He just prolonged and made bigger plays, and Bo's had a great rookie season. I believe in him. But there are, when you see that quarterback standard that is in the AFC West, that's, especially in this stretch, that's where Bo's going to have to raise his game some and get there. Yeah. And again, I think it was truly that one long bomb, and he maybe has it. That's maybe enough to be a winning performance for Bo Nix.
Yeah, because then at that point, you're thinking 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's a really good game from Bo. And I think it probably would have been enough for us to get the momentum and keep the momentum. But like you said, Herbert, I think he played really good football.
Incredible.
I mean, you can't take it away from him, like what you see on film. And I don't think it was a lack of us getting home. I guess we were getting hits, but we weren't getting sacks. So it was his ability to kind of keep the play going, stay alive just long enough to get it to a defender. I got one of the plays on the breakdown was that where the running backs leaks out the backfield and then scores in the end zone. And as Justin Herbert's falling, he just throws an absolute dot in the end zone. PJ Locke was guard. Like, there's nothing you can do about that.
No, 100%.
Like, everybody did their job for the most part. Like, he just found a way to make a play. So we got to give him credit. Hate giving the Chargers credit, but I think Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback.
He made the plays above the X's and O's, and the Broncos missed at least one easy one, and very much within the X's and O's. So, I mean, that's football for you.
Yeah. It comes down to like 1 or 2 plays every game. Every single game.
100%. I told you off air, I felt like it was a bit of the second half, their back 7 in the middle of the field. The linebackers, safeties were really good at rallying to the ball, making those tackles in space on those dump-offs. And that's where maybe the Broncos struggled a bit. And on top of the run defense, which I think is also part of that.
Yeah, I don't think our run defense was up to our... I mean, we only gave up 117 yards, which is not a terrible day for a run defense. It just... When the big plays happen, it was just at the most inopportune times. Like, when we need a stop, they break through our, front 7 for 43 yards. Like, even though we had been pretty good the whole rest of the other game, like, that's the worst time to give up that big play. Leads to another touchdown for the Chargers, and then kind of we can't claw our way back into this game. So I agree. I think in the first half, we lived off the dump-offs. Like, nothing was a really explosive play. The one to Marvin Mims would have been the most explosive play of the day. Everything else was 11, 12 yards. And it was mostly because guys were getting the ball in their hands, making plays. It wasn't that we were having long strikes, explosive plays. And then in the second half, it just felt like we didn't have that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, how much of that is the Broncos passing game, lacking a vertical threat? Whether that's coming from, the skill players and the targets that Bo has available to him, and it's coming from a quarterback who's at this point much better at getting it out quickly and staying on rhythm than he is at really throwing dots consistently downfield.
Yeah. I think when we were watching the game yesterday, like we were confused because there was a 3rd and 8 late in the game, and Cortland Sutton's not even on the field. Like they go 12 personnel.
Yeah, what is that?
2 tight ends, and you got, I think it was Vele and Franklin. Okay, receivers, they're both young, but you think you would need your star wide receiver, your number 1 player on your offense to be a part of any package that we're putting together, especially on a 3rd down. First, 2nd down, you understand if he needs a break, you get him some rest. 3rd down, much like a top-tier pass rusher, no matter what, you're back in the game.
Yeah.
We need you in the game. So I think it's a little bit of Bo still needs to grow as a passer, but then also some of the packages I didn't love yesterday to put us in the best position to continue to extend drives.
Yeah, there's another one where maybe they're in 12 personnel and you've got like the fullback just flexed out wide and it's like it ends up being a 5 wide shotgun look with like only 3 wide receivers involved in that. Yeah, it's a little odd. And yeah, I mean, 3rd and 8, that should be Cortland Sutton time,
For sure.
who was 5 of 50 on the day on 6 targets. So it's not, I mean, pretty efficient.
Yep.
But I can't remember any targets for Court in the second half.
No, not that I can think of. Not
Kind of went
anything that meant
silent.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah, you need a little more of that. And I mean, the stuff over the middle of the field, I think that's where some of your lack of high-end threats from the tight end position, from the fullback position, as far as, real threats, ball in their hand.
For sure.
There was like an dump off to Nate Adkins at one point, I think, on 3rd down, and I was kind of like, oh man, is he gonna do a spin move like he did in the
He tried one
in
on
the
the
he
sideline.
did, but it didn't work out, but those are kind of your options right now. Lucas Kroll had an opportunity on a 3rd and long, and Derwin James makes an outstanding tackle over the middle. There's that weird throw to Javonte that's contested by Derwin James and is always an interception. They really kind of squeezed out the space in the passing game in the second half, and the Broncos weren't able to punish them. And again, that's where they do that. You bust them on a double move with your fastest guy, and you almost had it.
Almost had it.
And I hate to keep harping on that, but, it's stuck in my head.
But no, that's a huge play. And you talked about their personnel groupings. It makes sense to have 12 personnel and they bust out an empty when you have tight ends and running backs that can create mismatches on defense.
Yep.
And if we bust out in 12 personnel and then all their linebackers can cover our tight ends, and then you just have receivers on DBs like you would every other play,
Yeah.
it doesn't really make for a change-up or something different offensively. So I don't know. I think we have a lot to figure out still going into the playoffs. So I'll be interested to see what happens. But before we go any further, I got to tell you about our friends over at Verizon. If you're tired of your phone bill draining your bank account, wish you could use that money for something more fun and exciting, well, Verizon, if they feel your pain, for a limited time, new customers can get up to $800 in a prepaid MasterCard to pay off your current smartphone loan when you switch. I repeat, that's $800. I could use $800 right now, buy my kids some, headphones for their PS5 because that's high on their wish list. You just trade in any phone from their top brands with select unlimited plans. Verizon gives you the 5G network to power your entire day, and they've got you covered with their award-winning network. This deal won't last long, so don't get stuck on the bench. Again, that's $800, 8 with 2 zeros behind it. Switch to Verizon today and take control of your game plan. Visit your local Verizon store for details.
And lucky for us, you can get the kids headphones. They're too young to drive a Toyota, but your family is always at its best in a Toyota, especially in Colorado. Amazing trucks, fantastic SUVs. I mean, Adam Mars will tell you how much he trusts Toyota and what it's meant to his family for some of the incidents they've had. Great car to get lost in the mountains and drive around Colorado. Little road trip, little day trip. Nothing like a Toyota. So many 4-wheel, all-wheel drive options. Tons of hybrid and electric car options. nothing like the legendary Forerunner or RAV4 to get lost around our great state. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
All right, so when talking with Noshawn Jarrell yesterday, Noshawn kept saying that he gave the defense a pass for yesterday because they played so well throughout the season, and this was really their second worst game outside the Ravens game. How do you feel about that? Because in my mind, I feel like it's not their fault, but at the same time, we've set a precedent that we need the defense to play well for us to win games, and I just think 34 points is too many.
I mean, no doubt. It's one of those where as I'm watching it in real time, I'm just like, man, where's the pressure? Where's the run defense? Why can't we cover anyone over the middle? Why can't we get Herbert down? I was incredibly frustrated with the defense. You look back on it, you digest it, you sleep on it. And it's like, look, there's that one drive where it was a bunch of penalties and that kind of sucked and they could never quite gain momentum there. The other part of the second half, a lot of it's Herbert just extending plays and making, that's why the pressure's not coming. Like they're draped all over him, but Herbert was still making big plays. At the same time, though, I do wonder, is this a game that's exposed them a little bit for their cover skills over the middle of the field, which on paper is where you have the least marquee players, let's say. And also, it's, Harbaugh's come to the AFC West. This is an identity matchup. One that the Broncos won in the first half, and one that in the second half, not to be too harsh, I mean, identities are identities, and you can get too caught up in it. But the defense were they a bit too much of a finesse defense? Were they lacking a little more power and downhill ferocity in the second half? And is that something that as you build out this team in, Sean Payton's identity, and he's a Bill Parcells school guy, inside out, the trenches are what matters most. Is that something you need to address and become a bit more physical across the middle?
You may have to. I mean, that means Harbaugh's changing the entire AFC West because it was always a throw first division. Like you think of Patrick Mahomes, you think of Peyton Manning, you think of Phillip Rivers. They usually have good running backs, but it's not a downhill power game like it is with the Steelers and the Ravens. And like there's definitely different divisions are set up for different types of offenses. So I think it is different though. You look at number 44 who plays D tackle for them and has for a couple years is now their fullback. And they actually run plays with him. They throw him the ball. They'll run leads. They'll run powers with him. Like you have to have somebody, a linebacker or a D lineman that's willing to go and hit this man full speed. That's a very different game than trying to cover Travis Kelce one-on-one. Like those are two different bodies.
Exactly, yes.
So it is an identity issue, and I think that with Harbaugh and the way he's running things, if it does come down to close games late in the fourth quarter and it's just pounding the rock, that's going to be stuff. That's going to be hard to stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was a bit of like the Harbaugh Michigan recipe. Like they eventually wore the defense down in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And that's when the Gus Edwards run came through. And yeah, I mean, the levees kind of broke there.
Yep. And I felt like maybe we haven't been tested much, but I didn't feel like our run defense was like as solid as our pass defense has been all year. I mean, even the Colts last week, if it's not for that dropped ball by Taylor going into the third quarter, I think it's a very different game because
100%.
They're finding their stride. They had already run for over 100 yards at that point with almost two quarters left to play in the football game. I still think there's some things in the running game that we can get cleaned up to be a much better football team.
Yeah, they haven't been aces since that Browns game. I don't think they've played their A game these last 3 weeks for sure. Yeah, and I mean, you're right. Like the AFC West for the last decade, the conundrum defensively is more how do you cover the Travis Kelce's, the Antonio Gates, the Julius Thomases? I mean, going back to Tony Gonzalez, and now you do have the Matlocks of the world.
Yep.
I think the Broncos need to find their own on offense. And look, if we want to get into the identity talk, I don't know that Sean stayed committed to the run game the way we would have liked him to in the second half.
Yep.
And I mean,
agree.
he had it on written in bold on his play sheet, right? Like he knew that had to be a point of emphasis, and they weren't able to do that necessarily.
People were saying that he never flipped it over. Like we could see the run, but he forgot to show himself the run it. No, I completely agree. I think when I looked at the tape, Estime's first 3 runs were 6 yards, 9 yards, 7 yards. He was having success running the football. And for me, Sean has said it. I felt this way. 3 running backs is too many. So when you lose one of your starting running backs, you don't have to replace him with another young guy in Blake Watson. No beef with Blake Watson. I just thought it was going to be the perfect opportunity for us to have 2 running backs, let them gain some more momentum. There's no reason to take 4 carries away from our 2 running backs. And I just don't know if I love the 3-back system. It doesn't work. I can't think of any other team or even in history where they've had a trio of running backs that were all top tier that people wanted to see play. It's usually one main guy or it's tandem.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I hadn't even thought of that. And when I look at the stat sheet here, Javonte ran for 6 yards a clip, Estime 5.3 yards a clip. And they only got 13 carries combined.
Yep.
So had you stuck to that a little more, then, it's easy to say just looking at the box score. Obviously, I think in the second half, part of the issue was getting behind the sticks, like not really having opportunities where you're facing second and medium, second and short to keep running the game, running the ball and kind of being stuck to dump offs and having to drop back.
It's tough because you talked about us still being up. I mean, the first drive in the second half, we start off with a run to Estime. It goes for 7 yards. We march down the field to get a field goal. Like, we're still up by 11 points. Of course, the Chargers then go on and score on that next drive. But I think we stopped committing to run the ball right after that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was like the changing point, because if we don't keep running the ball and we allow them to score in back-to-back drives, okay, now we've kind of handcuffed ourselves to say, now we have to throw the ball to stay in contention for this game.
Yeah, 100%.
So
Big Hank in the Toyota chat saying, felt like the momentum changed and they had 2 bad runs and Sean panicked and abandoned the run.
How the heck is he commenting?
He's living his best life.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
No internet, Montana.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably eating elk jerky while riding a buffalo right now. That's what I imagine. Henry, be careful with those, deranged ranchers around there, okay? They commit so many murders.
Craziness.
So really, really stay away from that, please. And then, it's Strez, one of the 2 true homies, saying that he played in a 3 running back system in college, Todd, and none of them ever could really get going. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, I think running back and wide receiver are 2 positions where you need to catch a rhythm. You got to get going.
Yeah,
I think,
sense.
Cornerback, linebacker, outside linebacker, sometimes the less reps, the better, because you're fresh, you can play, you can cover, all that. It is what it is. But certain positions on offense, you got to be in the game. You got to get your momentum going. You got to get into the rhythm. You got to understand how defenses are attacking you, how you want to set up your blocks to be able to make the plays. And if you aren't able to do that time and time again, it does take sometimes a run for no gain just to feel it, and then we run the same play and I get 7 yards because I understand how to set up this block a little bit different. Or I didn't like the way I did the first time, so I know how to be a little bit better on the second time. These guys are getting 1 shot a quarter, really. A lot of these guys are two run plays. That's not enough to get any type of momentum.
Yeah, I mean, also the 40 dropbacks, 21 runs, probably not what you want to see. I thought they did a good job of moving Bo around in the first half, getting him to run more. I thought they went away from that in the second half. Now that I think about it, there wasn't enough misdirection. just pre-snap. That Sean's really good at that. And in the second half, again, I mean, maybe it was too many second and long, third and longs, but felt a bit too vanilla in some ways.
Yeah, it feels like, well, at least in my opinion, they get vanilla later in games for Bo, so he doesn't have to think. Like, if we just line everybody up, say hike, Bo can have an understanding for the defense. He has an understanding for the offense. He's not too worried about motion, shifts, things that can confuse him. It just seems vanilla for him, but it also makes it very vanilla for the defense and allows them to kind of disguise for longer periods of times and then show him a different defense once the ball is snapped. So it's always a catch-22 to every style of play calling.
Yeah, and I mean, the penalties are starting to add up, so I think formations like that, you're always like, well, are we going to screw this up pre-snap and just lose 5 yards? So you try to get a little more conservative. Just find something to get you in rhythm. Find something to get you going. Yeah.
And what was up with the false start penalties, like from veteran guys like Ben Powers and Garrett Bowles?
I know, and it was a mixed crowd too.
Yeah.
Like a loud crowd. I felt like once the Chargers got the game back in the second half, the building was rocking. But tons of Broncos fans too. Like this wasn't like, Arrowhead in November.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It felt weird. I don't know if there's something different. I don't know if the bye was at the wrong time. Like it just feels like we haven't been the same since the game before the bye and since the bye. It's been a very different vibe.
Can we talk about your guys?
Who?
Linebackers.
I didn't want to, but no, I'm just playing. Of course.
What'd you think? They're taking some heat.
They are taking some heat.
In the chat, online.
So, of course, everybody, makes mistakes in games. There are a couple plays that look like they were linebackers' faults, but they weren't necessarily. But ultimately, no, I don't feel like they played a good enough game, to help the team win. Like the linebackers definitely could have been better.
Yeah. And Sternad, who's had such a good season, mixed bag in that one.
Yeah. Penalties, maybe being able to help on that deep over that they caught late in the game. I think he definitely could have had a better game. But it's crazy because as soon as he has one bad game, he's like, they're ready to be done with him, but he's played well all season.
I think he's been outstanding. I would also warn against reading too much into the next-gen stats of closest guy in coverage. A lot of that is Herbert extending the play for 6 seconds and then getting the dump off.
Yep.
And guess who's going to struggle the most for covering for a long period of time? The biggest guys who are closest to the line of scrimmage. That's just the game,
Yes, and there's so much responsibility in your assignment. And as a linebacker, you're always taught, like, as the play extends, you actually go deep to shallow. Like, I'd rather have you catch the 6-yard pass and I go down there and tackle it for 8 than to give up this 15-yard dig that's behind me. So I'm going to try and sit back and then tackle that. And although it may look like I gave up the 8 yards, really, that's more so a rush concern. And I'm actually taking care of the big play. But, sometimes it's just, like you said, the next-gen stats, they're not going to see that. They're not going to be able to quantify that. They're just going to say it was your fault.
Deep to shallow, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you're going to be much better off coming downhill than you are moving backwards as a backer. Yeah.
Exactly. 100%. All right, before we get into the inside scoop, I got to give a shout out to our friends over at Bird Call. Bird Call is all about all natural chicken goodness with a fully customizable menu. We're talking about chef-created salads, award-winning tenders and nuggets, incredible tots and fries, creamy milkshake, you name it, they've got it. And I personally love Bird Call. They have these Nashville, hot chicken tenders. Now they're hot.
Oh, snap.
Like, when something's so good, but you can't stop eating it, but you're like, It's like that kind of hot, but it's super, super tasty. You got to go check out the Bird Call. Bird Call was hatched in Denver, Colorado, and now has 8 restaurants across the Front Range, with more opening soon. Go over to Bird Call and get your hands on a bird in a box. And this week only, DNVR fans can score $10 off any $20 order at Bird Call with promo code DNVR10. Get down to Bird Call or order online at eatbirdcall.com and grab this offer right now.
Was hatched. That was clever. I like that. Bet365, 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 our exclusive betting partner. The only place you can use our code DNVR365, the only place you can find our custom bets. They are true homies. They've been with us for a long while. They love us all. And, Bo Nix, Rookie of the Year, Sean Payton, Coach of the Year. I'm still holding strong to those. I will not be taking a cash out. No way, Jose. And also, we are in on every single underdog against the spread in this first round of the college football playoffs, Todd.
I love it.
That's right. Yep. Big Hoosiers, Clemson, Tennessee guys around here. SMU, maybe more on the bubble, but we will ride with them for sure. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up, use the code DNVR365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, now it's time to get into the inside scoop. I think it was like 8 plays for everybody. Got to break down some plays. Shout out to my man Yahir.
Let's do
Shout out to Amazon Prime for this Prime Vision, man. This is like the best way to watch football. Do you watch it on Prime Vision?
I saw it yesterday on Prime. I thought that was a good product.
It's not bad, right?
It's
you get
not
to
bad.
see everything. Like, and if you're really like a student of the game or want to understand what's happening, I think it's the best way to see the game.
Todd, quick sidebar. Should we be putting in more QB spies in the NFL with more mobile quarterbacks?
The answer is yes, but it also, you have to decide if you want to take away from the rush or you want to take away from the coverage. Everything is built on rush and coverage. So if you take somebody out of coverage, then there's another zone open or there's 10 to 12 yards that can't be accounted for and put some more pressure on the guys covering. You take somebody out of the rush, now he's going to have extra time back there, and he may not necessarily scramble, but maybe guys get open because he's able to extend plays because the rush is not as great.
You need a nose tackle that takes up 2 blockers to win this math equation. It's a math conundrum. So much of life is just a math conundrum.
You just need a 320-pound nose tackle that can take up 2 blocks and is fast enough to catch any quarterback when he scrambles. If we can find that guy,
check out my mock draft from yesterday.
All right, this is one of the first runs from Estime. This is his second one of the day. Goes for 9 yards, but I thought the Broncos did a great job of really running downhill when they had opportunities to, and I'm frustrated that they didn't stick with it. So right now we're going to get a power to the front side. So you're going to get Ben Powers. He's going to come and kick out the first block. You're going to get Burton, who was lined up here. He's going to run through and kick out the second block. And then Estime is going to take this ball and go right through the line of scrimmage. And this is great because on the front side, everybody has angles on who they're blocking. So we're going to get a block back right here. The double team is supposed to be working at this backside linebacker. This tight end is going to check the double team and also help on the other backside linebacker. So we should definitely have more than enough for this to be a successful play. And it is. Estime does a great job of setting up this block. So if you see the first clip, let me go to the next one. This end, which is Khalil Mack, he does a great job of squeezing this ball, which make this hole very, very small. But what Estime does is he widens just enough for Khalil Mack to stutter his feet, which allows for Ben Powers to get on the block. Then he cuts back and gets vertical. So I thought Estime did a great job of running the ball yesterday. And this power downhill running game really worked for the Broncos. Did it out of a couple different formations, but every time they ran it, I felt like it was successful. When we got into like the gun runs and a couple different options, it wasn't as successful as us downhill smash mouth football, and I wanted to see more of it.
Yeah, felt like the first half they were really just cooking them in the trenches. That the offensive line was just leaning on them and dominating and doing whatever they wanted. And the second half felt like a very different story.
It was very different. And I don't know if we were tired. I know you heard Bo Nix talk about, we were tired in the short week and how tough it is to play, 4 days apart. But it definitely felt like it was different in the second half.
Yeah, and just having more runs like this,
Yeah.
just letting the O-line cook and do what they do best.
Yeah, because those are big boys. You want those guys moving downhill.
And then you get that going. There's the, play action boot game that can come off of that. And then the defense is guessing a little more.
Because if you're not gashing people in the running game, the play action doesn't work. Nobody's biting on anymore because they know you're not running the ball well. All right, next one. We get a 3-by-1 set. They're going to motion Marvin Mims across. And with that motion, you're going to see the linebackers bump. So ultimately, you know that they're in zone right now. I thought this was a great job by Bo Nix, just being decisive with his ability to find the open receiver and making a good throw and a good catch. So right now, they're going to hike the ball, and I believe Bo Nix is reading this half of the field right now. So they got a too high look. They're in, quarters or Tampa 2, but it's on Bo Nix to diagnose this play. So as the play progresses, you see this corner get depth with the wide receiver. So you ultimately know they're not playing corner 2. Otherwise, this corner would be jamming. He'd be up on the line, and he'd be sinking right down that hole. And then also they're not in a squat side like they are to this side because the corner would be playing much closer to the wide receiver. So with Bo Nix knowing that, I think he diagnoses this play really well and then finds Vele very quickly. This guy's in quarters coverage, so he has number 2 to the flat, but just based off his alignment, he's too far inside. So as soon as the corner gets depth with number 1, Bo Nix knows right now, gets the ball out of his hands quickly. And I think that's what he's been good at is the quick plays, the quick throws. He has to still work on being able to diagnose defense to take some deeper shots. But in these kind of situations, I think Bo Nix is getting really good at diagnosing defenses very quickly. All right. This was the touchdown to Burton. And I love that the Broncos still use this old school goal line formations. Like you rarely see it anymore. You go over it every year in training camp, but you got about 2, maybe 3 teams that you'll play all year that do that. And this is, for me, this is the hardest play as a linebacker to be able to defend. So basically, as a linebacker, we're always taught everybody's man-to-man in goal line. And in order to protect linebackers from all this space out here, what they tell you is this outside guy has the first up or the first out, and the inside guy has the second guy that's inside. So if he stays inside, he'll have him. If he goes out, then the linebacker will have him. So basically, the linebacker is going to take the closest body to him. So they're going to run a play action here where Burton starts to the left. So normally the linebacker would be on this guy if this guy went out right now. But if he starts to the left, all bets are off. You have to now take this fullback, and he's going to stay on number 1 because we're all downhill. We're thinking stop the run. As soon as the fullback goes away, the corner is taking his eyes off him, and he's staying on number 1. So do a great job of coming back. So the linebacker who has Burton is way out here. It looks like this guy has him, but he has no pass responsibilities. He's rushing the quarterback. And as the play progresses, you see him fall off of this man. We're able to hit Burton in the end zone. That's a touchdown. I think it's just great play design. And it's always a tough play for the linebackers because that little bit of misdirection makes you stutter your feet just enough for Burton to beat you to the outside to the sideline. You got to rush through bodies. You got to find a way to get past the safety and then get to Burton, and it's really tough to do.
Yeah, that's a beautiful formation. I mean, that's the identity football we're talking about with the extra offensive linemen in Pert and everything. That was a beautiful thing. And I mean, Bo seems really comfortable running those kinds of plays. Yeah,
when he's outside the pocket, I feel like he feels his most comfortable. He can see the field there. He feels like he's able to make all the throws he needs to on the run. When he's outside the pocket, he really looks comfortable.
Well, because I think it simplifies things. It becomes like a half-field read. It becomes like reading a read option in college, right? Like it's the same thing. Am I going to give it off? Am I going to run it myself, or a read pass option, Or you're reading one guy and he dictates everything. And that's kind of what that formation broke it down for him, right?
Like you said, it really breaks it down to half the field, and you have 1 or 2 options. If it's not there, throw it away or run it.
Right.
Yeah, it makes it really quick.
Yeah.
All right, this one was the touchdown pass to Vele. This is a great job of Bo Nix reading. This is like a RPO. So they got the zone read right here. And Bo Nix is reading. In my opinion, he's reading this corner right now. As soon as he sees the corner stays down, he knows that he has Vele one-on-one with the safety outside leverage there. So,
because they've got a tight formation here, and we're
Yep.
reading man coverage. So you're forcing that corner is the guy who's got to contain if Bo tries to run that outside.
yeah, so basically I think why they're reading him right here is because if he goes with Vele, we're going to have the kick out block here, and he can hand the ball off, and that's positive yardage. But as soon
Right.
as he sits down, they know they have space to work this outside area of the field. So as soon as he sits down and doesn't pull it, Bo's going to scramble out. He know that he has Vele. I think this is a great throw by him. And the safety, he's just not in position from the jump to be able to make a play on this ball. Great play, great touchdown. And when those two guys are working well together, I think the Broncos are very successful. 3 touchdowns in the first half, 21 points. The Broncos were rolling. Like, we need to find a way to just have a few more of these plays in the second half, and I think it would have been a really good game for us.
Yeah, I mean, you're highlighting 2 of your 4 plays are out route concepts to Vele, and
Yep.
Bo and him really being on the same page and executing that nicely. I mean, much like I can't remember many targets to Sutton in the second half, I can't remember a ton of out routes to Vele in the second half either.
No, I can't either. It definitely it was a different game
Yeah.
in the second half. Completely
Yeah.
different game.
Yeah.
All right, we got my man Chris Abrams-Drain out here on an island. I think he does a great job of running this route for the receiver. He has Palmer, 6'5", big target. He's able to keep his eyes downfield or on the quarterback. Justin Herbert is eyeing this route the entire time. As soon as he sees the coverage he wants, he knows he's going at Chris Abrams-Drain. He's a young guy. He's a rookie. They want to see what he's made out of. But I thought he did a great job of staying square long enough to run the route for the receiver. So he's going to run like a shallow post. He stays square and undercuts this route beautifully. And I thought this was a great play by Chris Abrams-Drain. You talk about great teams. Great teams always have depth at most positions. So you talk about a guy that is playing his second game, second start, and did a really good job of making this play. And this was all him, one-on-one. Everybody else is locked up, covered up. Great job by him being able to get the pick right here. And that's a lot of young talent. So I'm glad he's playing well.
No kidding. Herbert there is thinking his wideout has inside leverage there, and he's just going to be able to squeeze it, huh?
Yeah, I think he's thinking right now, as soon as he sees the safety come down, he knows he has space right here. And I think it's Chris Abrams-Drain doesn't undercut this, or Justin Herbert puts a little more air on it, it would be a tougher play for Chris to make. But because Chris did a great job of seeing it, and at the same time Justin threw it too much on the line, it allowed Chris to have time to be able to get into the line of the ball and make a play here.
We were flying so high in that first half, Todd. We were flying so high.
Man.
God. Right at this point, too, like right before the fair catch interference and all that other stuff went down.
Yeah.
Not wasting enough time to end the half, all of that. We were flying so high.
44. We were 44 seconds before going into just the half on a beautiful high note.
Yeah, so true.
Well, before we finish up the second half of this Inside Scoop, got to give one more shout out to our friends over at Coors Light. You guys know we love our Coors Light here. We always have it on the set, and you know that it's ready for you and the crew when the mountains turn blue. If you guys want to chill, if you're a little bit stressed about last night's game, we still have an 85% chance to make the playoffs, so I think we're still in the mix, and I think we're still going to get it done. So just chill. You know, work can be stressful, social media. Choices Life throws your way. There's no better time to chill than choosing a Coors Light and choosing chill. You can make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. You guys remember, celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado.
Definitely helped to have a nice, cool Coors last night during that second half. And of course, Saturday Neon, man, they are old-time friends of ours, started by 2 CU alums. Saturday Neon makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs Perfect for your home, office, dorm, room, fan cave. We've got one on set for the Buff shows. We have a couple hanging up at the bar. They're awesome. They do make for great gifts. Check out their new Essentials collection featuring almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country. I guess that doesn't include our alma maters, Todd. And counting for only $75. They have Utes signs as well. Well, I guess since the Broncos have nothing but Utes, that's a good one to point out. Low voltage. They don't get hot, and they always are safe to touch. They're the perfect gift for the upcoming holiday season. DNVR has used Saturday Neon, as I told you, for a while now. They are old-time friends. Use code DNVR for 10% off your order at SaturdayNeon.com. Check it out right there or on the show description.
All right, let's dive back into the inside scoop. This was the great play from Justin Herbert. Just had to throw this on here because it was just a good throw. But this was safety's coming down. They're in the zone. Safety's off 2. Nickel's off 2. We're off 3. And then we got then we're in thirds. Oh. Now we're in thirds on the back end. So they're going to get the motion outside. PJ Locke does a good job of getting off on number 2. The corner is going to take number 1. But unfortunately, as the play develops, you talked about Justin Herbert being able to extend plays. We're doing a good job of trying to get home to him. We got rushers, Zach Allen, Nick Bonito is trying to get home. We got guys that are very, very close to putting pressure on the quarterback. But as the play progresses, just for a second, PJ Locke had his eyes back. That allowed Justin Herbert to get out the pocket. And while he's being tackled by Zach Allen, who had 4 QB hits in the game, I think he played a really good game and is getting back to, his stride. He throws an absolute dime right here to the running back. And this is a tough play. And this is Justin Herbert extending plays. Our rush is good. Our coverage is almost there. But unfortunately, sometimes you got to tip your hat because there's not much more we could do on this play. I think Justin Herbert just made a great play.
Do you think, in retrospect, it was a bit of they didn't do the best job of maintaining contain on Herbert? That they kind of treated him as more of a conventional pocket passer when maybe it's more of a like Russell Wilson type game plan, like keep this guy in the pocket, don't let him break contain.
Yeah, because I wouldn't say that I view them in the same light as like some of those more mobile quarterbacks. And you're thinking he's nursing an ankle. Yeah. He's not as mobile. He didn't practice on Tuesday. Maybe that means he can't move around. Sure. So let's just get after him and see what happens.
For sure.
But it's tough because when quarterbacks, especially mobile quarterbacks, scramble, we always do this scramble drill in practice. And all the shallow guys, they go deep. So you see guys turning up here. If you're shallow, you're supposed to go deep. And if you're deep, you're supposed to come back to the football. And usually, coverage is not ready for you to make that second adjustment. Yeah. And I think that's what happened here on this play is you had a shallow guy that was covered. All of a sudden, Herbert scrambles. Now he goes deep, and that's what allows for him to be open.
Yeah, I mean, it's plays above the X's and O's, as we were talking about.
Yeah.
Do you feel like did they go away from blitzing too much in the second half defensively? Because the Chargers started to commit more guys to the rush, and that seemed to make a difference.
Yeah. I think the Broncos did a good job of staying balanced. I know their blitz rate is very heavy, but I mean, it's really because they rush 5 more so than they're actually sending a lot of blitzers. So I think for the most part, they stayed true to themselves, and I just felt like it was more Zach Allen applying pressure this game than Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper like they have in games in the past. All right, this is the throw that everybody in Broncos country, including Bo Nix, wants back. He's on an island right here. You got Marvin Mims versus a rookie corner. This is exactly the matchup that we want. As soon as he breaks this out, I believe Marvin has him beat right here.
Yeah.
And it's all on Bo Nix to just put the ball in the right position. He does a great job of looking off the safety, bringing his eyes here. But unfortunately, Marvin Mims has this guy beat. I mean, you could throw this ball anywhere you want from the 20 yards in, and I think it's a touchdown 99% of the time.
And look at the protection there, Todd.
Great protection. He has tons of time to throw. He's not in any rush, not in a hurry. Just unfortunately, he underthrows this ball. And you talk about 24-27. in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
we hit this. We go up 31-27. I think this gives us a lot of momentum to continue playing well in the fourth quarter and be able to hang on enough to win the game. So this is the play that was underthrown. Some people might say PI. It might be PI. I do think he got there a little bit early.
It's
so
PI.
per the rules,
It's PI.
per the NFLPA and NFL rules, this should be PI. You're not allowed to contact the receiver before the ball is there. And sometimes you have those bang plays where it's quick and it happens fast. This was not one of them. I think this should have been a PI.
Yeah, 100%. It also doesn't help that he's getting like all up in his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a shame.
I know. And this was just, it probably should have just been thrown in the end zone. I think Marvin Mims finds a way to run underneath it and makes the play.
Marvin's really turned into quite the big play weapon.
Man. I mean, last year, everybody was calling for more Marvin Mims, and I think this year he's just proven it. Even the play in the backfield where they ran the RPO and then dumped out the little bubble screen to him, he uses his speed to get up the sideline, ends up getting tackled by his shirt. Maybe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Tuck the shirt in, we'll be all right. But no, he's playing really well right now. He's playing really well. All right, last play I got for you guys. All right, this is the 43-yard rush by the Chargers. And like I said, the Broncos did a pretty good job of stopping the run all game. It's just with 3 minutes and 35 seconds on the clock where you need to get the ball back, this is the most inopportune time to give up a 43-yard rush. And what you see right here is they're just running lead strong. But what the problem is, it's not just with one player and it's not just at one block. What happens is, let me go back if I can. All right, so this double team does a really good job right here of moving the D tackle Roach all the way to the other A gap, or really the B gap. You get Zach Allen one-on-one. And also this quote-unquote double team does a great job of moving the D tackles. So on the hash, a little bit outside the hash, the D tackle that was on this hash is right here.
Oof.
The other D tackle that was lined right here is right here. They completely spread the two D tackles apart. So, pause. So, I know you just want to put it on linebackers right off the start, but from the start of this play, it was not a good play defensively from the front four. After the front four, you got to move on to the back end. So, the way this is set up right now, I don't know if I can erase it anymore. He has B gap, he has C gap. This backside linebacker has A gap. This front side linebacker has this B, and he's supposed to spill any block that comes to him because he has a safety outside that's going to hit and force it. This corner has the C gap. This D tackle has the B gap. All the gaps are taken.
Yeah.
So people want to blame Cody for coming inside of this block when Justin Herbert is here. That's what Cody is supposed to do. Now, could he have taken it on better and been more physical? Absolutely. He should have went downhill and absolutely smashed this guy's face in and stayed physical, splatter it, but do it in a way so that you're not creating a bigger hole. But because this tackle was able to get bumped out so far, the guard pushes him out to the tackle and then goes up and gets the safety.
Yeah.
So the safety who's supposed to fit inside on this play is outside of the tackle, and the corner doesn't know to replace him inside. So it's multiple levels that didn't do well on this play, which leads to them being able to run right down this seam right here. You got Cody inside, which he should be, but it needs to be more physical. And then Stranad, how he could help us is if he plays it a little bit slower, he'll be able to see where the ball is spitting out and get over the top if he needs to help us. That's the only thing that he could have done better to be able to help the team. But it is all 11 players did not do their job on this play. It's not one guy.
Yeah.
It's not one position. I think everybody on this play could have been better.
Yeah, and I mean, if starts up front, you get moved from one A gap to the other. It's not a recipe for success.
No, not. And that's a tough block to defend. I mean, even though you're 300 pounds, they got 600 pounds on you, and that guard has the angle on you. He can push your hip in, and once your hips, they get control of your hips. I mean, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
They work on taking on double teams. You're supposed to split the double team and kind of put a knee down to kind of stop that force, but it's not an easy play to defend. nonetheless, we got to do a better job of defending it so that we could be better against power running game like that.
Yeah, that's big boy football and tough.
Yep. Well, that's tough. We went through the inside scoop. Yeah, let's hit a couple of these super chats before we get out of here and see what the people are saying. Yeah, please. I feel like it's hard for me to see from this far away.
Oh, there you go.
First one coming in from Christopher Crenshaw. I think we only ran 7 times in the second half. I don't understand. Also, why does Bo struggle? How he does against zone?
Well, the not staying committed to the run game is hard to explain. I mean, that was clearly a point of emphasis for Sean coming in, and I think once the run game didn't start working in the second half, they were too quick to bail on that. Mm-hmm. And I think, the play calling, like they just weren't able to get ahead of the sticks enough. Do you see that with Bo struggling in zone?
At times I do, because I think it is tough. Zone is something you diagnose on the run. Usually, I think you can see it very quickly. Right. Safety shifts down. He's usually covering a tight end. Corners on number ones. Like, it's very easy to diagnose. Within zone, before the play snaps, they could be in 3 or 4 different zones. And as the play develops, you got to be able to diagnose it. So I think it is tougher on young quarterbacks to be able to diagnose what type of zone they're playing. Makes sense. As the play goes on. Next one coming in from Christopher Crenshaw. Last thing, what happened defensively with so many receivers coming open against our defense? I think we talked about it.
It's extending plays, right? Yeah, it's not bad coverage. It's not bad scheme. It's just extending plays, and it's harder to cover for longer periods of time.
Yeah, that's it. Next one coming in from the great one. That illegal forward pass gave me nightmares last night. What the hell was that?
About that.
Looked like Bo panicked and just chucked it. Zero were awareness on that play. Yeah, not Bo's highest moment or greatest moment as a Bronco. I don't know if they had plays like that in Oregon, but I think you can't do forward passes in college either. So I think maybe the lights were too bright.
He was just feeling it.
Not a great
I think
play.
He thought he had it behind the line of scrimmage, and the entire Chargers sideline knew instantly.
Yep. All right, next one coming in from Brandon Herrera. OG here, 2008, my boys needed to win one of the last 3 to make the playoffs. We lost all 3, lost the division, and missed the playoffs. Run the ball. We don't make the same mistakes this year. Love DNVR. Todd has said. Well, much appreciated, man. And we definitely don't want the Broncos to lose all 3. And you're right. Running the ball is the key to being successful late in the season.
It did have that game gave me similar flashbacks where it was like, this feels a little like late Shanny era Broncos right here.
Dang.
Yeah.
Next one coming in from Terrell Barnes. What about Herbert's missed face mask on Coop? Listen, guys, I've been arguing for months to get this rule changed. If we can't touch your face mask on defense at no point, there is no point for the offense to be able to touch our face mask. I think it's too easy to miss calls and say, that was a stiff arm when it was really a face mask. I think just touching the face of any player at any time should be illegal, offense or defense. It's only fair. If I can't stiff arm you, you can't stiff arm me.
Let's go the other way. Just bring head slaps.
Just guys,
that's right.
Ears ringing for the next 3 plays.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you've got a team. Yeah. You've got a point there. You've got a point.
Because I think that's the only offensive players can do that.
Yeah, and I mean, the calls did not seem like even in the slightest.
Yeah.
It was all flags on the Broncos, none on the Chargers, and not great.
People are saying the NFL is rigged. Do you feel like it's rigged?
Oh, I've heard that from people for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Do I think it's rigged? No, I don't think it's rigged. I think it's easy from the outside to think everything we see has a great design. And the older I get, the more I realize it's mostly just humans making genuine screw-ups because we're human,
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not rigged. And if it is rigged, I hope they have it rigged to where the Broncos make the playoffs and
that'd be
not
outstanding.
lose the next two.
Great take. Great take, Todd.
We'll see what happens. But we'll be back Monday morning, 11 a.m. Zach and Henry will be in studio.
Incredible.
Everybody will be back from vacation. We'll have a good time. And we'll see you guys on Monday. Peace and love.
We all silly like the mayor.